What's up, everybody? Metal Dave here, along with my co-host Jason McMaster, bringing you another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. Today we are joined by guitarist Alex Sknolnick. You know him best from his time in Testament. He's also an accomplished jazz guitarist. He's had the Alex Sknolnick Trio for 25 years, something like that now. He's got a new album out with his jazz trio. It's called Prove You're Not a Robot. And he's also got a new album out with Testament called Bellum. We cover both albums today with Alex. And he's a busy man. He actually called me yesterday because he thought the interview was the day before. and I was just happy he was able to still stick with the original plan and do the interview today. So he's in between tours. He's promoting 2 albums. He's a busy man. Jason led me to his website prior to the interview, and I'm so glad you did because that website is amazing. It's alexsknolnick.com, and you'll find out that besides being one of the most accomplished guitar players in the whole thrash metal genre, he's also a photographer, an instructor, a writer, a podcaster.
Yeah, there's like another 2 hours of shit we could have talked to him about.
For sure,
just because he's such a Renaissance guy, you know. I wanted to ask him about him getting it, you know, rebirthing his photography, attraction via Randy Blythe from Lamb of God.
Right.
And he mentions that. He gives Randy credit on his website just in a little blurb. And can you imagine just being on tour and Randy's out there with this cool old camera and he's like, wait, what are you doing? And like, oh, check it out, dude. And then like them becoming like really close. And like probably, can you see them prowling through Prague with their cameras and taking pictures of old crumbling churches or whatever? You know, it sounds book worthy to me. So little things like that just maybe the world doesn't know about Alex, that he just loves art and all kinds of art.
Creative expression.
Yes. And he's very open-minded. And I was just telling Dave off camera, this is, once again, and I've got a lot of favorite episodes that we've done. This is up there, man. I just, I admire Alex. I always have. There's only like 2 or 3 Alex stories that I have, and I've told them 1,000 times, and I'm super proud of all 2.5 of them or whatever they are as I backpedal a little bit, as I embellish them as I get older. It's fun. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, he was great. And that's why I bring up the website, because I encourage anyone watching or listening to go to the website, alexsknolnick.com, because the website, it looks great and it really does capture the scope of his work beyond just as a guitarist. And it's really well done. So check that out. His new album with the Alex Sknolnick Trio is called Prove You're Not a Robot. It's awesome. I've been listening to that. And the New Testament record called Bellum, it's a beast, man. I've been listening to that a lot as well.
Didn't we say that about the last Testament record, though?
Yeah, Testament, man, they
prolific.
Yeah, they're prolific and they deliver the goods. And I think this record is another feather in their cap. They've got a new drummer, a young guy named Chris Dovas, who's a beast of a drummer. And if you're going to play drums in Testament, you better bring your A game because they've had some incredible drummers.
Well, in the shadows of, I don't know, Dave Lombardo and Gene Hoglan,
Yeah.
You got to have your game turned on.
Yeah. Go all the way back to Louis Clemente. I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
He helped create what they are. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, fun time today with Alex Sknolnick on the Talk Louder podcast.
Yeah, I'm good. Kind of all over the place. I've had interviews every single day for 2 different albums. So I thought we were yesterday. Yesterday was the one day I didn't have press. So
wow,
that was why I checked in early. But
no, that's all good.
Here we are. Yeah,
we're happy to have you here today. We got a lot to cover because, as you said, you've got 2 albums that just came out, and you're a busy man, and we want to cover as much ground as we can.
Sure.
I think I requested 45 minutes to an hour with you. I don't know if we can do that, but we'll do as much as we can.
Yeah, at least 45.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So first up, let's talk about your jazz album, "Prove You're Not a Robot." It just came out literally like yesterday or something, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And you've been quoted as saying you feel it's the album that you and your bandmates in the trio are most proud of up to this point. And I wanted to ask, why is that? Where's the strength in this album that maybe you didn't capture on previous releases?
Good question. I think it's an album that captures just a lot of musical instruments, and I think it just successfully combines elements that all of us like in music. It's a bit challenging. Probably the most odd time signatures I've ever had on a record. Some of the more unusual ones, but at the same time, you don't need to be a music nerd to appreciate it.
True.
I don't think. I think it's music for people who aren't necessarily guitar fanatics or prog or jazz fanatics. Hopefully, it appeals to those people as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like some music that tends to be technical, whether it's jazz or prog or whatever, it becomes this insider thing, and it feels like you're playing for the community of musicians. And I like a lot of that music too, but I always try to have a quality that can go beyond the musician demographic, if you will.
Right. Yeah, no, I hear that. I mean, I enjoyed it with my coffee this morning, and I am certainly not a guitar technician or a jazz aficionado or not, but I can appreciate it, but it is very accessible.
Do you feel like every time you put out something new, this is my favorite one? This is because everybody writes a new song or puts out a new record, and it's always their favorite new child, kind of a thing. And how do you compare this, and what's the difference between they should be fairly obvious, but you've been doing this. Me and Dave were just talking about, I told him the little story about South by Southwest, 20 years ago. You tapped me on the shoulder in that little club on 6th Street.
Yes.
And you were in town playing with your trio. I think you had just kind of gotten it going back then. How do you compare?
Brand new.
Yeah, the growth of this thing that's now obviously a monster because you've been doing it for so long now. And has the lineup changed? I'm just not versed enough. Is it the same guys?
Yeah, it hasn't changed.
Wow.
Since then. It only changed once. It changed from the first release to the second release.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's strength.
That's some longevity.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and the change was in the bass department.
Okay.
And our bassist at the time, I give him a lot of credit. He really helped establish the foundation for the album and the recording, and I think we got a lot of credibility because it's just like real jazz bass. I think there's an expectation if you have my background and you're best known for screaming lead guitar with a heavy metal band, that I'm going to get somebody from that community, and it's going to be this instrumental shred album. But no, the guy I got, John Graham Davis, he really played well. And I think a lot of music journalists were surprised by that, especially some of the jazz writers, and really gave a boost to that recording I didn't expect. Ironically, John, he was really interested in being in an indie rock band at the time. And
wow.
He actually joined this band that had a record deal. It's the classic story, didn't sell or got dropped or whatever. So he ended up starting a recording studio with another friend of ours, and the recording studio is doing great. And he's actually up for 4 Grammys
Holy
as
moly.
as a recording person. Yeah, mostly
Nice.
recording like high level jazz. And so he's doing great. That was John Graham Davis, and he was replaced by Nathan Peck, who just fit like a glove and is still there to this day.
Yeah.
Amazing the longevity and how would you say the growth from album to album has been? Do you have a lot of the same sort of inflections? Are you doing, I mean, has it gotten wilder and then calm and then wilder and then wilder and then calm again? Or is every record just a new journey for you?
Um, well, I think it's always a new journey,
Mm-hmm.
but I always want to capture where things are at the time and how I'm feeling about music and about the world. And
You're sensitive to it.
yeah, and even though it's instrumental music, it's affected by
Sure.
things going on in the world. The previous album is called Conundrum, and it was written, a few years into, 2016, and the all the cultural changes that were happening.
Oh yeah.
And then this one is called Prove You're Not a Robot, which, obviously references technology and our dependence on technology, and
which ties over into the Testament single. We don't have to get into that right now, but
that was a coincidence. But it goes to show that a lot of us are.
Yeah, everyone's aware.
Being affected by it.
Yeah. I mean, I've even written some anti-AI lyrical miracle myself. So it's kind of it's spreading within our community, because I don't feel, and I'm sorry to sort of take the conch here, but I really feel not just heavy metal community, but just musician and art general term is not afraid but affected. And someone who does illustrations or picks up a guitar and writes a song when they have this emotional something's flowing. Yeah, I mean, and then there's someone who thinks it's okay to just talk into their phone and spit something out that they think that they have an emotional, blah,
Right.
And that's the thing. And tell us where you were headed with calling the record that, other than the obvious. Is there anything else, how you really feel? Tell us how you really feel.
I always tell how I really feel.
I know you do.
I'm not good at playing games and
no filter. No filter.
Yeah. I don't think I'm overbearing about it. But what tends to happen, we'll see if we make news in this interview, but what tends to happen is I get asked questions and I answer them honestly.
Yeah.
And they become headlines, sometimes clickbait.
Yeah.
Right. I just did an interview I did last week is now making headlines because I was talking about social media and how it's a great tool for artists, but some people overshare on it, which is not really a controversial thing. But, I might have mentioned that, the fight between Jonathan Cain and Neil Sean over the Journey credit card is maybe that's something I don't need to hear about on social media. And I love these guys. These are like heroes of mine.
Yeah, and probably peers or friends or at least acquaintances of yours, and then you have to read about their dirty laundry, and you don't want to.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, guys, can you guys get in an office? You must have a booking agent or a management office where you can meet. You have a band. You work this out.
Right,
instead of these angry social media posts back and
well,
forth.
the finance management, of any kind, maybe neither of you guys should have this in your hands. I don't know.
So the one that made the headline was Tommy Lee and his relationship drama. Like,
Yeah. Well, Tommy's
I'm
probably
sorry you guys are having problems, and I'm
right.
sorry there's rumors that you did this and she did that, and can you guys like get off social media and just
Right.
talk? People like
That's when you want people to get a room for a different reason.
absolutely. So I answer questions honestly, and sometimes and then of course there's people in the comment section. Yeah, I'm getting tired of this guy's opinions, and this guy just won't shut his mouth. Good guitar player, but he won't stop talking. And
It's
like,
becoming
I'm not the one making these, taking these quotes and putting them as clickbait. I'm just answering questions honestly. So
it's the world we live in. It's,
Yeah.
The point being, I don't hold back on my opinions.
Yeah, good.
And but to the AI thing, on the Testament side, Chuck was writing lyrics with his writing partner Del James, as he often does, and they decided to write about AI, and they ran it by the rest of us. We thought, hey, this is a great idea. Yeah, we need to do this. When I came up with the title, "Prove You're Not a Robot," it was actually a title I had laying around since before AI, at least before AI was released into the world and affecting us the way it is. It's perfectly timed because it certainly connects to that. But, we've had these prompts, "Prove you're not a robot," on social media websites, on chat rooms,
just in your PayPal, it has you click on I am not a robot. It makes you click on that. It's like
it says I am not a robot. Prove you're not a robot.
Right.
Prove you're human. There's always some variation of it.
Yeah.
And we've become more and more dependent on these sites. For one thing, if you're locked out of your email account, that's really frustrating. If you're locked out of your social media account, you're so dependent on staying connected with the rest of the world. But now it's also travel, medicine, utility bills, like everything is online.
Yeah.
And you're really affected by, so you have to prove you're human. And I saw a relationship between that statement and also music and human behavior, because people often do with what's called groupthink. And they go along with this crowd. Everybody's thinking this, everybody's acting like this. I need to act, especially when you're young. But it surprises me when adults, don't grow out of that and they still feel like they have to follow their peer group. So whether it's, guitar players all trying to sound like the same player or the same few high profile players, or, speaking using like expressions that are made popular on some sitcom that you didn't actually think of yourself, but all your friends are using them. That's, in a way, that's kind of robotic behavior. So in a way, the title is a reflection on that as much as anything else.
I think it was the first single. I know you've got a video for "Prove You're Not a Robot," and the first or second single is a cover of Tom Petty's "Breakdown."
Yes, that was actually the first single. Yeah.
Okay, first single. Awesome choice of song. And you've done a lot of covers in the past with the trio, jazz variations of popular songs that we're all familiar with, especially those of us in the metal community. But I've listened to a few of them, and honestly, except for a flourish here or there, I don't even recognize them because you've jazzed them up to such a degree that they're I almost find it admirable that you give credit to the original, because I almost can't find the original in the jazz version that you do. So it's like you stake your claim in there, but then you kind of make it your own, so to speak, as cliche as that is. But on the Tom Petty song Breakdown, it keeps coming back to that one signature riff.
Yeah.
And so I was curious to know, out of all the great Tom Petty songs that there are, what pulled you to that one? Why was that one your choice to cover for this record?
Well, it connects to another question that I often get asked, which is, how do you decide what tunes to arrange? And I think the prerequisite for that is a strong melody. The first songs I ever arranged were by the Scorpions. And it was interesting to me, partially because I knew there were no other jazz artists doing the Scorpions.
Right.
And also just because the sense of melody is so strong. Those vocal melodies are amazing. And when I do Scorpion songs, you definitely recognize the tune right away.
Yeah.
There are some others where, we get creative and it may take a little time and you have to listen a little more carefully.
Sure.
Especially a song like Electric Eye,
Right.
or Tom Sawyer, which was actually arranged by Nathan, our bass player, which that's like a Picasso painting arrangement. It's like
Right.
it's totally unrecognizable, and then it unfolds as it goes, and then you figure out what it is. And I have started working on an arrangement of a cover, and then it does sound so unique and original, then it becomes an original tune. So I have actually done that and used those as a source. But in general, it's all about melody. And I tried to get away from doing covers for a while because it started to become too much of too definitive of the band in a way. And I wanted to emphasize originals. So the last couple records were just originals.
Do you mind if we hang a minute on? You said something just a second ago about how you'll start in on song X, and it's a cover because you like the melody, and I'm just putting words in your mouth here. And then all of a sudden it turns into an original piece because you've gone down this rabbit hole and your brain just goes, aha, and you felt like I call it juicy, when you're just kind of going and you're nice. Moving around and you're just picking stuff up on your little journey that you're on, and you hit record and you redo it until you like it, and la la la, and the next thing you know, you've got this new song, and it all started rewind back to whatever, Still Loving You by the Scorpions or whatever, and it's turned into this magnum opus that you started your journey. You started your journey listening to AC/DC, and by the end of it, you've created this whole new thing, whatever it is. Do you feel like that's kind of like that germ that every young musician start when they're a young songwriter? Do you feel like that's kind of the normal, like you guys start to have a trend maybe that you're following, and then all of a sudden you have your own thing? I mean, do you feel like maybe even Testament started out that way?
Oh yeah,
there were bands you loved and you covered. Then next thing you know, you're writing songs, and the cover songs are disappearing. And you're the people who show up to your backyard parties, your keg parties when you're in high school, and then you're growing, and then just in Testament's case, you're global, globally known fucking. A big band. When you go back to the garage and you think about that, do you feel like things change for young bands, or do you feel like everyone's just got the same sort of like what you fall in love with bleeds over into your own creations?
Yeah, well, I think that often happens, and sometimes it continues. I think there's a lot of, I can point to many examples of highly established musicians, even pop musicians, where I can totally tell what the influence is in the song. I'm not a Taylor Swift listener. I appreciate her as a person, but there's a huge controversy over her new record where people are, comparing songs to, like, there's one by the Pixies, one by the Weezer. These aren't groups that I listen to a lot, but putting back to back, you can really tell. She just changed one drum here and then wrote a new melody.
I hear it in her old stuff because, I've been teaching for School of Rock for a long time now, and I'm having to learn songs to teach songs, and sometimes Taylor Swift, sometimes Janelle Monáe, sometimes, whatever. And I'm having to, and so it's like, wow, it's funny how this new pop star sounds like the same pop star 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's also gotten easier to figure it out because, you no longer need to take a record and put it on a turntable and then take another record and right. You have so much access to music, whether streaming or YouTube. You just put up these tracks back to back.
Back to the AI thing real quick, too. I feel like something that you just said right now, the fact that we are a technology where everything's just right there in your hand and you can compare songs or check out new songs and like, oh, you have a new song out? Boom, and they're hearing it like 2 seconds after you've just told someone about it. They can go listen to it, which is a great way of sharing. In some ways, it reminds me of a little tape trading scene, you know what I mean? But it's like, hey, check it out. Boom, I'm checking it out right now. It's like you didn't have to lick a stamp or anything, so. Yeah. But the whole thing about just, where we are in the ritual is dead. The whole stand in line to buy the record on day one, run home, throw your bike in the yard, whatever, run to the turntable, smell it when you pull it out of the sleeve. That ritual is dying and is never existed for the young person who. What are you guys bitching about AI for? They would ask you a question about why are you guys complaining about AI? Well, because they never had to dial a rotary telephone. They never had to stand in line to buy a record. They never, buying concert tickets was a ritual.
No, we've become the old guys at the bar.
True.
You kids, you don't know what it was,
Right. Well, that ties
back
into
in our day.
Let's get back to Alex real quick.
But it ties into the AI thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, I've always been very honest about being inspired by other music and, a Testament song, Electric Crown. I've talked about how I was just riffing on You've Got Another Thing Coming by Judas Priest. And just started doing a different thing with keeping the same gung, 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 instead of going yeah. It's just playing around with the chords. Add a couple chords. Oh, now it's a different riff. And there's so many examples like that. Many of us do it. Many of us are not as honest about it.
Sure.
Right. It's so common that sometimes it happens in surprising ways. I like to listen for this stuff. I have my own podcast that I do, and I occasionally talk about this. And I do a series called Borrowed Music. And sometimes you just won't guess what the source is. But even like a band that a lot of people borrow, is Pink Floyd. There's probably like 3 huge Metallica hits that are based off one riff that they did in Goodbye Blue Sky.
Yeah.
But everybody knows that. But Pink Floyd, you don't think of them as borrowing, but there's a line in the Wall where Roger Waters, he's singing so close to Leonard Cohen. And that's somebody I didn't really listen to when I was younger. Yeah. I just discovered him, when I was older. And it's almost, it's the same tone of voice. It's the same rhyme scheme. I have grown older. You have grown colder. It's exact.
Wow.
at that time, when did The Wall come out? 1980. And
Yeah.
the Leonard Cohen song called "Famous Blue Raincoat" came out in the early '70s, and the totally different demographics, because he's
Yes.
more
Sure. Yeah.
singer songwriter. They're this massive rock band, formerly prog band. So the chances of somebody catching that is really rare. But again, now it's so easy. I put those back to back on my podcast, and it's kind of shocking.
Surprising. Yeah.
And
When he's singing "Goodbye, Blue Sky," I hear a "Goodbye, Ruby Tuesday."
oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear Rolling Stones. So,
yeah.
yeah.
No, that's
Is,
a really
is,
another one. Here's a really surprising one, and then we can move on. But there's a Yes tune, Starship Trooper, right, from their debut in 1970. They're the last band you would ever expect to be inspired or borrow from Yes would be Nirvana, right? Because they were just like, against anything prog, against supposedly against technical proficiency.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Even though Grohl's a freaking monster who could play Neil Peart's parts.
Yeah.
But if you listen to the song "In Utero," I think it's no, it's in Bloom. I forget the Nirvana song. Da 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 na 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 na.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's in Bloom.
That's
I
in
think.
Bloom.
Yeah.
Da, da, da. Right. So
Mhm.
that's there's a part of Starship Trooper. It's
Wow.
the exact same tempo,
Wow.
same groove, same chords, same melodic scheme.
Yeah.
But they don't
Borrowed that
start out the
staircase.
song that way. They started out with the other riff that I think they built off of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts out. It was very cleverly done. So
Sure.
you associate it with the opening riff, which is completely different.
Well,
But
now
then
I
they go
want
into that part, and the opening riff brings you into that part. So you're not going to think about it. But if you put them back to back, it's there's no way there wasn't a connection here.
Now I want to check out your podcast about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I've fallen very behind on it. I'm overdue.
Uh-oh.
So
it may not
you've
be
been doing
till January.
the jazz trio for like 25 years now. Is jazz
Crazy.
something that is jazz something you had an early appreciation for as a kid, or is this something that you learned to appreciate as you matured as a person and as a musician?
Definitely the latter.
Okay, that's what I would have
matured as a person
suspected.
and musician. And it happened in a few different ways. I always respected jazz, and I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, which, in addition to the now famous heavy metal scene there, had a really good jazz scene as well, and some very high end, noteworthy players coming out of my school at the same time. Joshua Redman, Charlie Hunter, who was a few years older, but we were friends. So it was there, but the disconnect between these styles of music was so strong at that time.
Yeah.
And I really fell into screaming lead guitar.
Sure.
Heavy metal. Partly because it was exciting, and I liked the excitement. And I hadn't discovered the jazz that got me excited.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did hear it, it felt cool, but it felt like this distant time period.
Yeah,
And it all changed when I saw a concert by Miles Davis, who was doing music at the time. He was getting a lot of criticism from old school jazz fans who just didn't like what he was doing. But I was blown away by it, and it was current. So to hear somebody on that level doing music that felt current and even futuristic really drew me in. So when I heard the Miles Davis Electric Band, I wanted to know more about it. How how are these people playing like this? And I got into all these musicians who were associated with Miles Davis at the time, including the guitarist John Scofield, and who I'm still a huge fan of. And I remember trying to learn some of his parts, and it was like trigonometry or something. Like,
Yeah, right.
what? I can't do this, and it was very humbling because by that point, Michael Schenker solos. Oh, I can learn those. Uli Roth, Eddie Van Halen. Okay, maybe I'm not going to nail them, but I kind of at least know what they're doing and can work towards what they're doing. Like this just blew my mind. And at some point it was explained to me that, a guitarist like John Scofield, he can play the earlier style of jazz too.
Yeah.
And you can't get a grip on what he's playing unless you become knowledgeable in earlier, it's more what's called, I guess, straight ahead jazz. And just, you have to learn about guitarists that came before him, like Les Montgomery and Grant Green and all these, Jim Hall, all these great players. So I started getting into these guys out of necessity,
Right.
because I wanted to understand the modern music. And then as I did, I got it. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. And it was also giving me a nice refuge from screaming loud music, which at that time I'm touring, I'm on the road. We're supporting groups like Anthrax and Overkill and Slayer and Megadeth, and it was like, oh, this is my respite. And I start going to clubs, and I liked the experience of sitting in a club, listening to the music.
So that leads me to one of my questions also, because when you're on stage with Testament and you're playing this breakneck thrash metal and the audience is going crazy and there's a mosh pit and there's stage, they're crowd surfing and they got their fist in the air, you can feed off that energy. You can tell you're connecting, and you can tell when you're having a great show or just a good show or maybe even a not so good show. But a jazz audience to me seems much more reserved. So how do you know when you're having a dynamite jazz gig?
Oh, you can tell. It's not that, it's not a classical crowd.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't really fit the stereotype. I mean, they pay attention, but they express appreciation. And if you play a part or a solo that very often it builds and builds, and then it breaks down to the next solo. And if you've done a good job, they'll cheer. Right. Sometimes it's you also know when it's out of obligation. Sometimes you can tell, okay, I think they're just phoning it in, right? Polite, but you know when they're really feeling it. Like, it comes with experience.
I feel like extreme music has that about it. Those explosions of expression, right? Happen in moments in fucking Slayer songs and Testament songs and Anthrax songs, and those builds. And then if there's a big drop and the riff does the re-intro, you can hear the crowd go, oh my God, it's like, oh my God, there it is. And any kind of, emotional response is from what they just witnessed with their minds and ears and all the senses.
So that's why a good breakdown in heavy metal is so effective.
Yes.
Right. Now, you, as a musician, this is interesting because you've shared with us your growth as a human being and as a musician, and that at a couple points in your career has caused you to step away from metal because you felt like maybe it was too limiting or you'd had enough for the time being or whatever, but you always come back. So what is it about the thrash metal that continues to pull you back at this age and at this point in your career? Because you always come back.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I realized I could do both. I could do more than one thing. And I started thinking of it as, almost comparing it to an actor who might do, a Marvel X-Men film, some mega blockbuster, but
Right.
can also go and do, a highly awarded HBO series or, some independent cinema,
Sure. Okay.
um, there's room. There's room for both, and
Yeah.
it definitely takes a lot of experience. I think when I stepped away, I needed my 10,000 hours doing jazz. I needed
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
speed up that process because it wasn't happening enough, and I needed to just be immersed in that fully. By now, I've probably had at least 20,000 hours doing jazz guitar, and probably 30,000 in metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it took
Okay.
time, and I had already had the time, really, just doing metal exclusively, and it was time to put that into jazz guitar. I thought I might come back, but only I wasn't going to come back defeated. I refused to come back and with a sense of giving up. By the time I came
Right.
back, I had several albums to my name. Done a lot of side gigs. Now I play with a lot of other virtuoso artists like Stuart Ham. I'm
Yeah.
on his latest recording. We play a few times a year. Percy Jones from Brand X. He and we've been playing for about 5 years now. That project called Pact. There's some lesser known names, but I've always admired these musicians that could jump from one radically different situation to another, much like an actor.
Sure. Yeah.
Another hero of mine, was the late great saxophonist Michael Brecker, and you can hear him on albums by people like Billy Joel and Paul Simon, but he's also a ripping jazz guitarist.
Yeah.
Jazz saxophonist.
Right.
Average white band, pick up the pieces. He's one of those
Yeah. Wow.
players.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
So I like that. I like
I
the
love musicians like that. It's like they can just jump in and
I like
do
the
whatever they
analogy
want to do.
Yeah, the analogy with the actor that brings it all home. That's a great analogy there.
Yeah, and for some reason, if you're part of a scene, you're expected to just be part of that scene.
Yeah.
And I think there's industry pressure to stay in your lane. There is pressure from your peers to stay in their lane. I think there's a lot of folks that actually would like to explore more styles, but
Do you feel like that line
agree.
is disappearing, or as a musician's career just moves along, as long as it's moving, do you feel like that line?
And his
I'm
labels
glad I
have
stuck to my guns because this felt right to me,
Yeah.
but it was actually controversial.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you go back to sort of the early, like the resurrection of Testament, when I came back and we recorded Formation of Damnation and got this great tour, the tour that really brought the band back, which was called the Metal Masters Tour, and it was with
We saw it.
Priest,
Motorhead.
Heaven and Hell.
Saw that down in here in Texas. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And then another tour called American Carnage with Megadeth and Slayer. But you go back to then, we're talking like 15 years ago. Blabbermouth, well, it wasn't brand new, but it was, new compared to now. And the comments, it was just unbelievable. Like, why do they have this guy? He sold out to jazz. First of all, how do you sell out to jazz? It's like the least selling music there is.
Right.
That's the classical.
Sold out to
I'll never forget that.
Wow.
And it became controversial, and I stuck with it, and now it's not controversial at all.
No.
I think there's a couple things at work here too. One is your audience has aged with you. So there are guys like me and Jason, we're in our late 50s, and our palette has expanded, and much like you grew to appreciate jazz at a later age. I don't think that's unnatural at all. All of us kind of broaden our horizons as we age, but you also aren't trapped in the confines of the music industry as it previously existed, right? There are really no labels anymore, and there are no, I mean, there's not a gatekeeper kind of keeping you as confined as maybe there was in the past.
Right. Oh, for sure.
So you're a little more free to venture. As long as you come back to what you're signed up for, that's cool. But back in the day, there would be somebody, as you said, saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. And now they're like, as long as you fulfill your obligation to us, go do whatever you want. And your audience is now at a point where they're like a little more open to that sort of experimentation or whatever.
That's 100%. That the whole thing would be the gatekeeping. The gatekeeping is disappearing, and people are, and you're also involved in some other things, and some of them might even be charitable. The Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, don't you do something like that sometimes?
I haven't done one of those.
You haven't done one of those, a rock camp thing?
I've spoken to the head of it. They've been in touch with me. We haven't been able to work it out.
I'm on your side,
but I'd be open to it.
You'd be great. You'd be great in that. As open-minded as you are, you'd be really great with that.
Yeah, I hope to do it. I've done a bunch of guitar camps. I've done a couple of the Joe Satriani G4s, which is
okay. Yeah, that could be what I'm thinking about. Yeah, that's awesome. And then the Metal Allegiance thing, you're doing that right, and you guys do appearances once in a while, and that just looks fun as hell.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's
for everyone, for audience, on people on stage, that just sounds like a big sing along,
Yeah. That's really like, it feels like the Avengers. You're getting all these
right.
people from different comic books, but instead it's different bands, and you're putting them together, and we get to work together, and it takes us all out of our comfort zone. And
the first before that, it was Super Friends.
Right. Yeah. Same type of thing, and that's gone great. We actually have a new single coming out that it's coming out in January. I can't really talk about who's on it, but it's somebody who's never worked with us before, from a later generation of bands.
Okay.
It really adds a whole new flavor, and I think it's going to bring a lot of new folks in.
Awesome.
And I'm excited about it. That comes out mid-January.
Awesome.
Yeah. So speaking of a new influence added to the mix, the New Testament record, you've got a new drummer who's like 27 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
Chris Dovis.
Yeah.
And his playing on the new album Bellum is insane. I mean, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
I have to give credit to Eric Peterson, the band founder and guitarist, because he found Chris online, and it would be very easy. We have so many friends in the community now, and of course, all our phones blow up. Drummers we know. Hey, man,
you guys have had a roster of amazing drummers.
The roster has been ridiculous.
Come on, yeah.
And he was actually, they were in touch. Eric was looking at these guys, and he was kind of leaning towards getting somebody young, get somebody that'll fire us up, but that, knows our stuff, but also very in touch with like what's going on now.
Right.
Groups that are sort of millennial and even maybe Gen Z, he's a young millennial, but, we got one of our friends that hit us up was our great buddy, Dave Lombardo, who's one of the greatest drummers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he sort of just became available as we were starting this tour cycle. And Gene Hoglan was overly booked. And this was partially because of the pandemic, because all the plans got shifted. So all our 2020 plans by 2022 and 2023, that calendar is getting filled with plans from 2020. But Gene already had his 2022 and so forth plans laid out after the Testament record cycle. So suddenly he had this conflict, and that was what led to him departing. And then suddenly Dave was available. We did the tour with Dave. It was amazing, and we've gotten to be even better friends. But when it came to doing the next record and doing the cycle and, spending hours upon hours in a room with Eric as he works out his riffs, because Eric really likes to work out riffs with a live drummer. Dave, he was spread too thin between Mr. Bungle, the Misfits, and various other things. So and even during the tour, we had to have a sub for him for a few shows. So when we did, Chris was the sub. Right?
Oh,
Chris
shit.
came out, and I have to say, I mean, that's a tall order.
Yeah.
Filling in for Lombardo.
Yeah.
And explaining to the fans, sorry, Dave will not be making an appearance tonight. It's like an understudy in a play.
Right.
Yeah.
Seinfeld episode. Bette Midler is starring.
Right.
She can't make it. She's sick, and it's the understudy, and it's this big. So, he was the understudy. And
Right.
it's like filling in for Bette Midler.
Yeah.
And people complain. Nobody complained after the show. I mean, I remember just thinking about this,
Yeah.
True
Everybody's
test.
happy. I can't picture them being any happier had Dave been able to make it. So, okay, that really says something. So, he's fired us up. He's brought a whole new flavor. There's definitely more extreme music there. And I think it's good. We have enough music now of the classic Testament. And some of the songs do venture into that territory, but I'm glad. I'm glad we're going into new territory and doing it with a musician on that level just makes it really exciting.
He's fantastic, and the record is great as well. And as you said, there's a lot of different flavors, but they all fall in line with what Testament has done before, or they're very familiar. But it's a great mix of like this really brutal stuff, and then I like if you call it a ballad.
It's a ballad.
Meant to Be.
Yeah,
is
we
a
went full
beautiful
ballad.
song.
That's probably the most accessible song the band has ever done.
Yeah, but I'm liking
for you,
Shadow.
man.
It works. Yeah, why not? And I
good
think
for you.
it all represents sort of not being afraid.
Throw the chum in the water, man. Go for it.
Yeah,
Attract all sharks. Yeah, bring it on.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was my attitude with my trio album as well. I kind of feel like at this point I don't have to prove I can play jazz guitar. People know that, and I don't have to follow these rules and have every sound be a jazz guitar. And it's mostly jazz guitar, but there's a couple acoustic tracks. I used this beautiful 1935 Gibson. That's one of my favorite instruments. There's a lot of stuff that's almost prog, and it goes in many directions. So I'm excited with both sides of my musicianship to be able to feel the sense of freedom and exploration.
Right. No, I think the Testament record is, I like the variation in it, but it's not so varied that it's going to alienate people. It's all in your wheelhouse, but there's different textures and flavors and enough to keep it interesting. And Chris is a heck of an addition on the drums. It's just amazing playing.
And you got to hear him live too, because the way he approaches the earlier music is great too. It's just awesome. Invigorated it.
I know we only got a couple minutes left, and I wanted to. I had so many questions, but I'll wrap it up with. I wanted to ask you about the Ozzy gig because you auditioned for Ozzy. You basically got the gig long enough to play a gig, and then it all ended. So. Right. I'm trying to understand the logic behind why you were hired for basically one gig and then it fell apart. I mean, I don't understand the reasoning behind that. Were they desperate to have somebody on stage to fulfill a gig obligation, but that wasn't necessarily going to be the future of the band? Or was there something just kind of out of place to begin with?
No, no. Ozzy is known for doing these occasional unannounced shows
Okay.
in the Midlands. In
Okay.
Britain. It's not the he's done several, and that only came up after I'd auditioned and it went well enough so that they were keeping me around.
Okay.
So it was definitely a very transitional period in Aussie world. Zach was gone, and he'd been there, a long. I think he might have been the longest lasting guitarist. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably.
And I think they were also sort of wrestling with, okay, the Ozzy guitarist, he's always as much of a part of the show as Ozzy.
Yeah.
And I'll just say that the guy who ended up touring, his name's Joe Holmes. I've never met him.
Yes, I saw him with Ozzy. Yeah.
Okay, so if you see videos from that tour, I mean, he's kind of like off to the side and dimly lit, and you could kind of tell they're trying to take the emphasis off of the guitarist. And didn't even when the next recording came around, he wasn't even on the record. So I felt bad. Like that would have been. I would have been very depressed had that happened. I would have been even more upset than not getting to tour, which it was upsetting, but I just sort of learned to process it, and it was a good learning experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it was right after that I really went on my jazz binge and just went full on, archtop guitar.
Right.
My guys are, Grant Green and I was that was my revenge.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to get at that time, especially this was the '90s, and suddenly rock was done with the guitar solo. It looked like
Right.
remember the term is shred dead. I remember there was a Guitar World episode. Guitar World magazine that had an issue with that.
Right.
So, like, to be called by Ozzy for this thing, I mean, it meant so much, in so many ways.
Oh, of course.
But so I was told that, we looked happier than he looked. Like, and they tried out a lot of players, including some pretty well-known names.
Sure.
And his crew said, well, he looks happy. You look perfect with him. Ozzy told me I was hired after this gig. Basically, it was like a week of rehearsals, and then, Ozzy wants to play a gig just to get things filled out. And then he canceled. He had a sore throat, and then it was on again, and it was off again. And finally it was on. And I remember like the only person that didn't seem as enthusiastic was Sharon Osbourne.
Okay.
And from what I know now about the entertainment industry, I mean, I realized, she really wanted to replace Zach. I think she really liked his image, the sort of hulking lumberjack and with the guitar slung down to his knees.
Right.
And that's what she was used to at that time. And my guy, I loved Zach, of course, but my guy, was Randy. I was a Randy head.
Sure.
And, so, so even the guy that did get it didn't last that long,
Sure. Yeah.
So, it was this very strange period. They hadn't done the reality show yet. That was a few years later. When that did happen, I remember thinking, okay, this is exactly what it was like. It was like this
chaotic.
This show. But the funny thing was he was so chilled out, like the people around him, I think it was like they're very nervous, and It's
Right.
you hear these stories about like the people around Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Like they laugh. He laughs. Ha, 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 that's funny, Frank. It was like that. And for when we did that show, there were a few minutes I was actually alone in a room with him, and he was like shadow boxing to warm up, and he was telling me, I don't, like I don't understand. Everybody they think I'm this perfectionist, and they feel like they have to act a certain way. It was like this weird confession.
Wow.
Really? But he was because he was always just the guy from Birmingham.
Right.
He
Yeah.
was not Mr. Show Business. But I think by that time, and especially I guess as they were negotiating for the TV show and everything, I mean, there's just so many show business people surrounding him
Yeah. Yeah.
that there. But he was always the same guy. So I got to give it to him.
Either way, I mean, that's a feather in your cap. From what I understand, Geezer was the bass player. So
Yeah,
you're
Geezer was the bass player.
you're playing with half of Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And,
I still can't believe that.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. It's funny because we had Marty Friedman on the show, and he also famously auditioned for Ozzy, and he said exactly what you said. He was convinced that he didn't get the gig, not because of his playing, but because he didn't fit the image, and he wasn't this wild man party animal dude, and that sort of thing.
He wasn't wearing
he tried out earlier. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
that was a different phase. I think that was like when Jakey Lee joined.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So, okay, well, but that was a common thread, I guess, throughout the Ozzy guitar.
Yeah, I think that was always a thing.
It was always a criteria that had to be met or something.
Yeah. Well, with Randy, I mean, they really gave him a makeover, because he was almost like a Mick Ronson.
Sure.
Yeah.
Quite right. He had the same type of guitar. He looked like Mick Ronson.
Same haircut. Yeah.
And then kind of glamish.
Sure.
Leather. Yeah. So they, no, you're not wearing that. You're wearing a black leather vest. And that's good they did because he looked awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I started, like some of my early tours with Testament, I wore a black leather vest because of him.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to show you this real quick. 1990 Practice What You Preach tour. This is my very first all access pass, and I've got loads of these now.
Wow.
This one will always be my first. And I love that it says touring in contempt because I have a feeling at that point you were not touring in contempt because your trajectory was on the rise at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
89.
Yeah.
90
maybe.
This is dated 1990 in San Antonio, Texas.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So I know you got to go.
And I will be in San Antonio, Texas, by the way.
Yeah, with our friends opening for you, Patrick Kennison and Nikki Street.
I'm excited.
Yeah, they're friends of ours.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll look for you in San Antonio. We thank you for your time today, man. I know you're a busy guy. You got 2 albums out, and you're always on the go. So thank you for
and I have a tour with my trio that starts in 4 days. So.
Yeah, you are a busy man. Thank you so much for making time for us, Alex.
It's good to reconnect. Yeah.
Alex Sknolnick on the Talk Louder podcast.